he hasn't played up to the contract. I mean, that's just evident. He's still too relaxed. He's gotten way too many massages.
I think I see where it's going with this one. Hey, been around the world and back. Yeah, I did that. Still kick raps and cars and packs. So where my kids at?
What's up, y'all? This is Drake with Catchin Cash. Today we're going to talk about a few preseason topics, some news that just came out, and possibly some quarterback controversy. And once again, I got Brennan with us. Brennan, what's up?
Nothing, man. The camera zooms in when you start bringing me in. I gotta adjust here.
Hey, I'm zoomed in too on this view. So a few NFL news that is going around right now. They just released that the Pittsburgh Steelers will be hosting the 2026 draft. That doesn't do nothing for me, but congrats, Pittsburgh.
Yep, I was about to say, who cares?
All right, what you got? What's something that's interesting you for right now?
I mean, as far as stuff we've been seeing, I've been seeing a good bit of stuff about T. Higgins. Hasn't signed his contract tender yet. I don't really know what that means. I just know he hasn't signed the option, the franchise tag, I guess. I think the Bengals tried to trade him this offseason. I don't know if they didn't get any bites or what, but he can't attend OTAs until he signs that tender. And right now the Bengals number 2 is Jermaine Burton, a rookie. So I don't really know what's going on over there. They're not extending him. He's not signing the franchise tag. I would imagine he eventually will sign the franchise tag, but their receiving core went from probably the best in the NFL to it's kind of a toss up in the air right now. So yeah. We'll see. That's kind of
like
the big news that was in the offseason. Nothing goes on, and who cares about baseball?
Like right now, if T. Higgins holds out, the Bengals receiver chart is Jamar Chase, Jermaine Burton, and Trenton Irwin.
Yep.
So
and Gesicki. I think they got Gesicki now, so they're loaded.
Yeah, they got Gesicki and Drew Sample for what that's worth. But if you're the Bengals and if you're Joe Burrow, you're not going into the season without T. Higgins or without another name. If Bengals get wind that T. Higgins will not be on the team for this upcoming season, you have to assume that they're making a trade or hopefully a free agent that's still out there. They have to bring in somebody for their franchise quarterback.
I agree. I don't see them being the new Patriots where they just have their quarterback throw to no names. But they got Jamar Chase, so that might be all he needs.
But especially in the AFC, you gotta have to keep up with the Chiefs. So
and that division, that's probably the toughest division in the AFC. You don't have to play Patrick Mahomes twice. I still think it's the most well-rounded division.
Yep, and I think you had brought up earlier on another note about contracts about Tua and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, they're both, I guess, looking for extensions. They're on their 5th-year option. Tua's, I don't think, is a huge deal. He just kind of said, I'm letting my agent deal with it. I guess the thing with it is they're going to get a record amount of money. I mean, they're talking about Trevor Lawrence getting like $50 million a year. He's just not like $50 million a year. Is he better than like Kirk Cousins? Is he better than some of these quarterbacks that aren't getting paid? I don't know if Kirk Cousins is getting paid more or less than that, but just to say I would take Kirk Cousins over Trevor Lawrence like every day of the week. And Kirk Cousins is the epitome of average. So like I don't know. You don't have another option, so you got to pay him. But man, paying a Tua or a Trevor Lawrence $50 million, it's got to hurt a little bit. They're not the best. They're not the worst, but
you have to assume that's still that younger class though. They still got something to prove. Still on their rookie deals.
Hey, I know, but 5th year, they've had 4 years in the league. Trevor Lawrence he started 4 years, I guess, if it's his 5th-year option or 4th year, whatever it is. He's had plenty of time. I guess you just scratch his rookie season with Urban Meyer, but I don't know. I feel like you haven't seen enough. Like Tua has been really good against bad teams, really bad against good teams. It's kind of like what do you do here? Like, they're better than Daniel Jones. Like, this is not a situation where they're going to pay Daniel Jones $90 million or whatever he's getting paid. But, I mean, like, you saw what happened with the Giants. It's, hey, do we sign Daniel Jones for this huge contract, or do we just kind of test the market and see what we can get? And the problem is they miss so bad. I don't know if that lingers in the Dolphins or the Jaguars' minds of, is there somebody else out there that we can win more games with? There definitely is, but can you get him?
Yeah, because so looking at T-Law, Trevor Lawrence, like you said, this will be his 4th season. And like you mentioned, would I punt? Would I punt on that first season? Probably. I mean, that whole season was whatever. So he is, I think, so that's, I'm just looking at it right now, that's the difference. Trevor Lawrence will be going into his 4th. So I'm sure that the contract extension and stuff is being brought up before he has to face that 5th year extension deadline. So he's probably looking for a contract extension before that comes up. But Tua, this is his 5th year.
You have to sign them both. Like, don't get me wrong, you have to sign them. If you're the Dolphins and the Jaguars, it's just kind of one of those situations where it's like, they're the quarterbacks where, like, if you can win with them on their rookie deal, your team is phenomenal. It's like the Jalen Hurts deal where the Eagles go to the Super Bowl while he's on his rookie deal because they can afford to spend everywhere else because they're not paying a quarterback $50 million. But now you go from you're paying them rookie contracts to now they're some of the highest paid QBs in the league, and they're not top 5. I don't even know if you'd put them top 10. That would be, I don't know. I'd have to do it. But Trevor Lawrence is not a top 10 quarterback to me, and I really don't think Tua is either. I think there's other guys that are better.
I think Tua has a phenomenal skill set because of his accuracy, and that alone in a Mike McDaniel's offense with possibly the best receiver tandem is just a product of where he's at.
No, I agree. There's no better options for these two teams, but I think it hamstrings your team, and this is just in general, it hamstrings a team when they got to go pay a quarterback this much money, and they're not necessarily like these two guys are not putting the team on their back and carrying them to a conference championship, whatever. Yeah,
they're like you said, they're that middle tier overall. Now they are the better ones of the younger guys, but that's all relative to what you're talking about because they're, like you said, neither are a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Correct. Yeah.
So since we're talking about quarterbacks here, I want to bring up 2 quarterbacks that are probably both on the hot seat. One of them is on the hot seat, but he's stuck with his team. And I want to bring up Justin Herbert and Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Both have a lot to prove this season. But in Deshaun's case, he's stuck. He just, if you're the Browns, he's your starter for the next 2 years, 3 years possibly because of the contract.
Yep.
But you have to assume that he got that first year out of the way. I know he was hurt, but he wasn't horrible when he was playing. Yeah, I know he ended up getting hurt, so that skews his numbers. But you have to assume coming into this year, he has to be thinking, okay, this is my season to show that I'm not washed, to show that I'm still worth my contract.
Yeah, he's looked washed. I mean, Baker Mayfield took the Browns team to the playoffs. Joe Flacco kind of rescued the season, took this team into the playoffs. They've looked the worst when he's played quarterback. They look really good with Flacco. I mean, Mayfield wasn't great. He was good enough to win games. But that team as a whole felt better than what Watson's doing. Now, he had Amari Cooper, and I think he had Odell at the time. Whatever. But he hasn't played up to the contract. I mean, that's just evident. He's still too relaxed. He's gotten way too many massages.
So last year he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He went 5 wins, and 1 loss when he started.
So
But
that negates everything I said.
no, I lied. 4-1. But that team was just really good. His stats are horrible. He
Yeah,
threw
you
for
got Nick Chubb.
150.
Nick Chubb puts the team on his back when he's healthy.
He only threw for over 240 yards one time, and he threw for 289.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things for the Browns where it's like, okay, if Flacco played without Chubb, I feel like you didn't need a $235 million guaranteed contract quarterback to win.
Yeah.
He's great. He was great with the Texans. He hasn't been great since then, but it just felt like the Browns didn't need him, I guess, is kind of where I end.
No, that defense was phenomenal. And like you said, they have the Amari Cooper at the end of the season with Joe Flacco. Look at the numbers he was putting. Did he not put up 200 plus yards?
Yeah, he did it twice. I think didn't he go over 300 one time, or he was close. He did it more than once. So I don't know. It's the same. We talked about it in the last video. Lamar Jackson or Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson with the Ravens. You're kind of doing the same thing here, where you're going from Flacco back to Watson, and it's just like the Ravens needed Jackson in that case. I mean, you could pay Joe Flacco what, a third or half of what you're paying Watson, and I mean, he looked incredible. But that's just they made a bad signing to me. He's good, but he doesn't help the team get better. Where I think you have a quarterback like Mayfield who's good enough, he can win you games, and he's cheap. Just go load up on other positions.
Looking at the defenses last year, they were the second to best passing defense, and they were about 12th rush. So that carried Joe Flacco to a lot of wins. But on top of that, more like you said, Joe Flacco was just feeding Amari Cooper, and Cooper was just dominating every game.
Yeah, it was a classic drop back style. I can't move outside the pocket offense.
So the Justin Herbert situation is very interesting to me because I am a believer in Justin Herbert. Talent-wise, I always thought he was really good. And I would probably put, with just him throwing the ball, I think he probably top 5 in the league. Just arm talent. Now, everything else, he's still top 10. Is he the best? No. But this year scares me they won 5 games last year with Keenan Allen. This year, they have neither Keenan Allen nor do they have Mike Williams or Austin Eckler, and their receiving core is bottom of the barrel. So I would really like to see this season with the team he has plus the hire of John Harbaugh.
Yeah, it's gonna look completely different. Which good. They won 5 games. It shouldn't look the same. I'm anxious to see. I think there's a lot of question marks around the Chargers because of who Harbaugh is. He's not gonna. His interviews won't tell you anything. They're terrible for guys like us because they're just so plain. We get no info from it. But I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to come out and chunk it around the yard 25, 30 times a game? That's not his MO. I don't see that. But you have a guy like that, I don't know why you wouldn't. Let's throw the ball more than 10 times a game, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. But I don't even know who their running back is. So I don't know if you can really depend on the run game all that much either. They lost Eckler to the Commanders.
Like right now, their number 1 is Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, so, I mean, decent guys, not bad. They basically took the Ravens backfield. So, not bad guys, but, I mean, certainly not workhorse guys. Or Dobbins hasn't been a workhorse guy since his injuries. Gus Edwards is real good. I had him in fantasy, but like we said, he's not a workhorse. And then they've both played in 3 backfields in Baltimore, so they're limited on carries. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to watch how it shapes out for Herbert.
Yeah, and like you said, I think this system that I think they're going to be wanting to play with for offense is different than what he's been asked to do. Like you said, he might be throwing it 5 to 10 times less. We don't know. He could also be throwing it 10 times more. We don't know what style. We could assume just from the past of how Jim Harbaugh wants to run his offense, but we don't know exactly how this season is about to happen. And especially for a top tier talent and a franchise quarterback coming back from, I think this is 2 years in a row injuries, and then he won't. This is going to be the worst receiving core that he has. I mean, his best receiver right now is, I mean, I would argue between Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnson, but this is going into his 5th year, so.
Yeah, I mean, their best receiver might be the rookie, like it might be Ladd McConkey, which is crazy to think about. He's a good receiver. I'm anxious to see. I don't know what they're going to ask of him. It might just be like an Alex Smith deal where they just, hey man, throw it 20 times a game. Don't fuck up. Don't turn the ball over. We'll find ways to win the game. Which Harbaugh's good at that. They find ways to win. It might not happen in year 1, but we'll
that's
see.
the issue to me though. Year 1 is the last year of Justin Herbert, so it's going to be very.
They're in a pickle. I don't think you trade a guy like that. Like we talked about Tua and T-Law. I think he's better than Tua and T-Law. But I mean, we can say that all we want. He still hasn't won. So
he
won
5 games.
I think part of that's on Staley, but I mean, they had a great team. Like their skill position guys were phenomenal the past couple of years. So it'll be interesting. I'm anxious to see what it looks like for them because I think there's a lot of question marks around that offense right now.
A lot of question marks in probably the most pivotal year of Justin Herbert's career. So it's just going to be very interesting, the whole new coaching dynamic and all this. I'm very intrigued by this upcoming season for the Chargers.
Yeah, by Kellen Moore.
Let me the Catchin Cash team today was working on something cool. I mean, it's very early. It's May, but we're starting to talk more about NFL, about what we like, what teams we like, and
the Saints.
No, not the Saints. So we got together and we created our top 5 teams that we think going into the season. And I can tell you right now, they are the Chiefs, Lions, Ravens, 49ers, and the Eagles. What are your thoughts on the top 5 that we came up with?
I mean, I don't know how you don't really throw the Chiefs up there top 1 or 2. They won the Super Bowl and then they got better, it seems like. I think the main deal with all these teams is like the 49ers retained a lot of their talent. I think, if they can keep Ayuk, which I think they're probably going to, then that helps their offense. Doesn't really change much. I think defense, they really didn't have too much turnover, so they really still just kind of stay in that top 5. I think the Lions, the way they drafted and kind of where they filled their holes, like we talked about this in the past, they were terrible in the secondary, and that's all they did with the draft is fill in the secondary that they need desperate help with. And then kind of the same thing with the Eagles. The Eagles needed help on defense of any kind, and they really, Howie Roseman does it, it seems like year in, year out. They fill in where they need, and they get better. So we'll see how the offense turns out. The offense was okay. I think Jalen Hurts was kind of hobbled the end of last year. I think he kind of makes a good comeback. And then the Ravens, they're always good in the regular season. There's no reason to not keep them in the top 5 for this season. If you want to talk about playoffs, I think that's a different story. I think people want to see more out of Lamar in the playoffs. So we'll see. I think their offense will change this upcoming year with Derrick Henry being in there. I think they're hoping they can take some of that load off of Lamar. I mean, if you can get Derrick Henry to rush for 120, 150 yards a game, it takes a lot off of Lamar's running that he has to do, and it takes the pass rush against Lamar. I think that helps him out as well. He can kind of sit back there and operate like we saw him do in the regular season. He didn't leave the pocket as much as he used to, it seemed like last year. He kind of operated within the pocket and did well, improvising, stepping up, stepping out, and then throwing the ball down the field.
So, obviously, the Chiefs are number one. But the one thing I want to talk about is the 49ers and the Ravens, because those are my biggest – they are definitely a top 5 team to me. But they have the biggest concern, at least for the top 5, just because the Ravens lost their defensive coordinator in Mike McDonald, who is the new Seahawks coach. And they got a first-time defensive coordinator play caller in Orr. So you never know if there's a big drop-off in the defense for the Ravens, what they've been known for, that could be an issue. Say their defense is not as good. And last year, Marlon Humphrey, who has been their staple cornerback, really took a step back. So if that defense starts to struggle and you're not able to control the game like the Ravens do day in and day out, and they're having to go out of their comfort zone of their offense, that could be a big concern for me. And the 49ers, man, I just felt like there was a lot of drama last year with the whole Brennan Ayuk not wanting to be with the team. And I don't know, I just felt like there was controversy in the locker room. And if Brock Purdy does ever take a step back, I think it'll be a bigger step back than the top tier quarterbacks. It could possibly be a major step back if he's not as good as he has been. So those are my 2 biggest concerns of the top 5 teams. But at the end of the day, the teams are just dominant. So these top 5 to me.
Yeah. I mean, speaking on the Purdy stuff, I guess he's kind of similar to Goff. I view it similar to Goff in this way. It's like the way they play the game is just sustainable. So like it seems like they don't ever do too much. So to me, it's hard for him to take a big step back because he doesn't do all of the extra stuff that like Lamar, Jalen Hurts, and Pat Mahomes can do. There's, can he do it? He's athletic enough to get out of the pocket. But I think the way they play the game, it's all the timing. And it's just, 1, 2, 3, balls out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, there's my guy. Boom.
Yeah.
Unless he's just sitting there and he's seeing ghost, then yeah, I think he takes a step back. I just think the way they play offense in San Francisco, it limits that. Shows you how bad Jimmy G really was.
Well, you got one of the best offensive coordinators, head coaches in the game. So,
yep.
So I think that is all for today. A little sneak peek of what's to come. We will be breaking down the schedules for all 32 teams. We're going to try to get our boy Cole on here. But besides that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. See y'all next time.
Peace.